Classic true scary stories found on the internet. I've only ever read one of these stories on my channel about a year ago, but like I said, they're all classics, so if you've heard any of them, I will be leaving timestamps for each story in the description and pinned comment just in case you want to skip past any. Now that that's out of the way, I hope you enjoyed the video and let's begin. I've always had a innate fear of the night. Not so much the dark, but the night itself. As a child, my imagination was overcome with stories of creatures that come alive at night and the safety offered by a house and light. I never had anything to base this fear on, until a night when I decided to go with a buddy of mine to a baseball game and got stuck at a light at 2 a.m. after dropping him off at home. Of course, that night, the game went into extra innings, and so I didn't get a chance to drop my friend off back home until well after 1 a.m. Everything was fine on the way home until I hit a light right before the street that led to my house. It was a T-junction and I was turning left. The light is one of those that you think is broken until it finally turns green right when you finally decide to just run it. So, of course, I pulled up right as the light turned red. I would have just run the light, seeing as no one was there and it was closing in on 2 a.m. on a school night. But earlier that week I had heard the phrase, characters what you do when no one is looking, and for whatever reason, that was the night I decided to prove to myself that I was a man of character. Big mistake. I pulled to a stop at the light, feeling good about myself, bordering on self-righteous, when I happened to look out of my window to my left and noticed a lady sitting all alone on a bus bench. We made brief eye contact and I quickly looked away. It was too late. I could see movement out of my peripheral vision and knew she was coming my way. I looked out the window and noticed she was carrying a bag. I quickly checked that my doors were locked and that all my windows were up. I then moved my right foot above the accelerator just in case and braced myself for what was to come. I was hoping it would just be an awkward exchange and was praying for a quick light change before she reached me so I could just get out of there. But I knew there was a slim chance of that. She walked right up to my window, put down her bag, and began to tap on my window. I nervously looked up at her and she mentioned for me to put my window down. I had automatic windows, so I just imagined pushing too hard on the window button and that thing just coming all the way down. So I took a deep breath and lightly flicked it with my finger. The window moved microscopically down, but she didn't seem to notice or care. She then leaned in and began to talk. She said,
"My boyfriend beat me up. I have a friend who lives down the street. Can you give me a ride?"
I should stop and give you a brief physical description of the bag lady. She was small and skinny and kind of an indeterminate age. She was either in her mid-20s and had lived a hard 20-plus years on the street, or she was 60-something years old who had lived a moderately hard life on the street. All that to say, just by looking at her, there was no way to verify her story. She looked beat up by life, not just by a boyfriend. But there was something about her delivery. It was robotic and seemed practiced, like she was disconnected for the moment. That made my skin crawl. And after a brief, maybe about a second debate on whether I should do it, I told her that I had to get home and that I couldn't give her a ride. After my first refusal, she leaned in closer and said the same thing again.
"My boyfriend beat me up. I have a friend who lives down the street. Can you give me a ride?"
This time, I felt more confident when I declined to give her a ride and told her I had a curfew and had to get home. She leaned in a third time and began her statement again.
My boyfriend beat me up.
At this point, the light changed and I slowly lifted my foot off the brake and started slowly rolling forward and began muttering an apology. She didn't move. She just looked at the light, looked down at me, leaned in closer, and said 5 words that have haunted me ever since.
You made the right decision.
Then she picked up her bag and walked back towards the bench. I peeled out of the intersection and cried and screamed all the way home. I have no idea what she planned to do or if there were more people waiting to jump in my car from the bushes had I moved to let her in. But that encounter has haunted me ever since and has confirmed in my mind that nothing good happens after dark. After dark. During my early 20s, I worked as a meter reader in Iowa City, Iowa. A meter reader is the person who records how much electricity, gas, or water you've used each month. If your meters are on the inside and you want an accurate bill, a meter reader must enter your home whether you're there to let them in or not. Just to clarify, we only entered homes if consent was given when the customer first signed up for service. Customers also provided us with keys if necessary. Entering a home when the owner wasn't there is something that I never got used to. No matter how loudly I knocked, I never shook the uneasy feeling that I wasn't welcome. The inside of a home is the ultimate private space. A home's exterior is just the image of ourselves that we project to the rest of the world. But the further you venture inside, the closer you come to truly seeing what kind of person lives there. And if you want the raw, unfiltered truth, head for the basement. I really hate basements. I've seen walls that look like giant, static-filled TV screens, only until I realized it was roaches scurrying across a white background. Cobwebs so thick and dusty that it looked like the cotton candy machine exploded at the Spider County Fair. I've seen rats, snakes, feces, weapons, neglected children, abused pets, homeless squatters, massive hordes, bizarre sexual items, a makeshift meth lab, and even a coffin. There are usually rational explanations for all of these things. Well, maybe not the coffin, but there was one basement where what I found was beyond the grasp of logic, and that's what made it so terrifying. It was an old apartment house. From the outside, it looked like every other house on the block. I entered the back door and found myself at the top of a staircase. I ran my hand along the wall until it grazed a light switch. I flipped the switch, but no lights turned on. I wasn't carrying a flashlight. A typical route involved 5 or 6 hours of walking, so I carried as little as possible. Oftentimes, I used the light from my handheld screen, but it only illuminated whatever was about a foot in front of it. So, armed with the world's worst lantern, I made my way down into the darkness. Once at the bottom, I blindly shuffled across the room, one baby step at a time. With my arms outstretched and head down, I eventually reached the far side of the basement. I shined the dim light from my handheld along the wall and discovered 2 doors. Each door led into its own small room. I chose the door on the right and I found the meter in the far corner. As I entered the reeds, I began hearing noises coming from the other room. Something was moving, and there was whimpering that grew louder the longer I listened. I eventually realized that it was a dog. It sounded weak and distressed. I tried to open the door, but it was locked. At this point, the dog was scratching the other side of the door. I felt helpless. I reported it when I got back to the office, but I couldn't shake the thought of that dog. It stuck with me over the next month until it was time to return. So there I was, 1 month later, back within that basement. At least this time I knew where the meters were located. I shuffled back to the little room on the right while keeping my ears open for any sounds coming from the other room. This time I heard nothing. I read the meters and started making my way back, but I couldn't shake the memory of that dog. Was it still trapped inside that room? My curiosity got the best of me. I stood outside the door for a few moments, listening. Still nothing. That's when I made a huge mistake. I tried to open the door. I had no more than jiggled the doorknob when I first heard it. Screams. Blood-curdling screams unlike anything I'd ever heard. Sounds that I didn't think a human was even capable of producing. Short, piercing, high-pitched shrieks followed abruptly by a low, drawn-out guttural moan that ultimately formed into something that I can only describe as crying, but much louder. It was all over the place, like some sort of psychotic freeform jazz. I stumbled backwards, nearly losing my balance. I shouted something like, "Hello? Who's in there?" There was no response, just screams. "Are you okay? Do you need help?" Still no response, just screams. There was no doubt that I yelled loud enough for him to hear me. He didn't want my help, he wanted me gone. I fumbled my way through the darkened room toward the exit. When I reached the top of the stairs, I just stood there, listening. I was trying to wrap my mind around what I was hearing. I waited for the screaming to stop, but it never did. When I finally left, it was still as loud and demented as when it began. I felt relieved, but that quickly vanished when I realized I had to do it all over again next month. I reported what I'd heard, but nothing came of it. As my return drew nearer, a sense of dread grew inside of me. What kind of lunatic sits alone in total darkness and silence? My mind created endless explanations for what kind of hell laid beyond that door. By the time I returned, I'd built him up so much in my mind that anyone other than the devil himself would have been a letdown. But there was no sign of him the next month, or even the next several months. I'd nearly given up on solving the mystery when a stroke of luck pulled me back in. One night, I went to a concert with my friend Laura. After the show, I gave her a ride home. She'd moved somewhat recently, so she had to give me directions. I didn't pay much attention to where she was leading me, until she pointed to a house a little bit up the street. I couldn't believe it. She had moved into the house with the mysterious room in the basement. I said to her, "Look, this sounds weird, but have you noticed anything odd about the basement at this?" But before I could finish my sentence, she blurted out that there was a crazy guy who lives down there. Finally, I had confirmation. She went on to tell me that even though her apartment was in the attic, she often heard him yelling late at night. But that wasn't all. She had actually met him. One day, while walking to her car, she saw him standing in the lawn. He stood perfectly still with no expression on his face. He was directly in her path, so she cautiously made her way around him. She noticed he was staring at her, so she offered a friendly hi as she passed. He had no reaction except for one unsettling exception. He stuck out his tongue, then quickly sucked it back into his mouth and resumed acting like a statue. Thoroughly creeped out, she got into her car and drove away. 2 or 3 months later, I finally met him myself. I entered the back door like I had done so many months before. This time, something was different. There was a light on in the basement. I peered down the staircase. At the bottom, a ragged-looking dog was staring back at me. It was the same dog I'd heard during my first visit. Then I noticed something else. Behind the dog, I could see a pair of bare feet. The ceiling blocked my view of the rest of whoever was standing there, but it didn't matter. I knew it was him. I should have left right then, but I didn't. I know this probably doesn't make any sense, but at this point my desire to finally get some answers outweighed my fear. I shakily called out, "Hey, I'm the meter reader," and started to make my descent. As I made my way down, more of him was revealed. He looked to be middle-aged, his head was shaved, and his eyes were wild. He was wearing pants, but no shirt. What I remember most was how lean and sinewy his body looked. It had a look of a body that was never at rest. I explained who I was and what I was doing there. To my surprise, not only did he talk to me, but he actually sounded somewhat normal. The volume and pitch of his voice was odd, but he said the same sorts of things that people typically said to meter readers. I even started to doubt whether or not he was the same man I'd heard screaming, but soon enough his behavior slowly removed all doubt. As I read the meters, he rapidly paced back and forth. He was constantly wringing his hands together and spastically cocking his head from side to side. The longer he talked, the more agitated he became. He began grimacing and little verbal tics started popping up in his speech. Every so often, he'd blurt out a loud noise in the middle of a sentence. He was trying to suppress these sounds, but he was losing the battle. I started to make my way to the exit, and he followed. His verbal outbursts grew louder and more frequent. I was petrified. When I reached the stairs, I drew our conversation to an end and said goodbye. As I turned to head up the staircase, he could no longer hold it in. Screams, the very same unforgettable screams that I'd heard coming from the locked room. I ran up the stairs as fast as my legs could carry me, flung the door open, and rushed back into the daylight. A month or two later, I had a couple friends, including Laura, over to my place. I was excited to tell her all about my encounter. But as I was relaying what happened, I could tell that something else was on her mind. When I finished telling my story, she told me something that she'd seen a couple weeks earlier. One day, she noticed lights flashing outside of her window. She looked outside just in time to see police officers placing the man from the basement in the back seat of a squad car. She later found out from another tenant that he had attacked someone with a knife. That was the last we ever saw of him. I don't know what became of the man in the basement. I'd like to think that he got the help that he needed, but maybe that's just because I'd rather not think about the alternative. This is something that happened to me about 2 years ago, but thinking about it still gives me chills.
How I started making progress at the gym with no time in my schedule.
There's a lot of wasted time in your workouts. I would leave.
This happened last October, close to Halloween. My parents and brother were making the trip from Florida to Tennessee to help my grandmother move into our house, and they wouldn't be back for a few days. Naturally, I thought it would be nice to have the house to myself for a couple days instead of traveling
Are you serious? I never thought she'd show. What did your mom say? Yeah, that's nice of her. I was thinking about giving her a call. I figured she'd appreciate it. Oh, you already talked to her? Oh, okay. Thank you. Oh, yeah. Oh, before I forget, you were going to say something important? Are you serious? No. No, there's no way. We said one kid was enough. Okay, yeah, sure. I'll think about it. Okay. Speaking of, can you give the phone to the little monster? Hi, sweetheart. Hi, how are you? That's fun. Guess what I'm making? Yeah, your favorite cake. I know. I can't wait to see you. Can you give the phone back to Daddy? Thank you. Hi, so I'll see you both tomorrow? Okay. Bye. I love you.
Take a close look at their faces. They are someone's sister, brother, friend. Dozens of people have been stabbed brutally to death in their own house. Their cases remain unsolved. Now at NGS, investigator Aryan Verma reports a serial killer on the loose in College Park. We request you to not let strangers in your place. Let's hear.
You mean an institution? A madhouse? People always call a madhouse someplace, don't they? Put her in someplace.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean it to sound uncaring.
What do you know about caring? Have you ever seen the inside of one of those places? The laughing and the tears and the cruel eyes.
Hi guys, please stop paying to watch movies. Install this app and you can watch massive movies for free.
Do you hate me, Therese?
Excuse me, miss. Do you think it might be possible to turn that music down so maybe a couple of the boys could talk?
That music is for everyone, Mr. McMurphy.
Yeah, I know, but you think we might ease it down a little bit so maybe the boys didn't have to... Give him a cigarette, will you, Harding?
My last one.
That's a fucking lie. Why don't you give him a cigarette?
Well, look, I'm not running a charity.
Come on.
Look, I don't want his cigarettes. Or even yours. You understand that? I want my cigarette.
Hello, ma'am. My name is Sid Fernandez. Is Mr. Andrews at home?
Who?
Mr. Ryan Andrews. Is he there?
Why would Mr. Ryan Andrews be here? This house belongs to Mr. and Mrs. Roberts.
Is this the address of this place?
Yes, it is, but like I said, this house belongs to Mr. and Mrs. Roberts.
I don't know why he would give me this address.
Why don't you try calling him?
I tried calling him, but his phone is switched off. Anyways, I'm so sorry to disturb you, ma'am. Have a nice evening.
You heard me, Harding. You let me go on hassling Nurse Ratchet here, knowing how much I had to lose, and you never told me nothing.
Now, Mac, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I didn't know anything about how much. Wait a minute. Now, listen.
Hey, Nicole, what's going on? Oh, fun. Oh, no, I'm just watching TV. No, they come back tomorrow. Oh, by the way, I watched that show you recommended. Yeah. It was okay. It really like... Hey, sorry, can I call you back? There's someone at the door.
Hello, ma'am. I'm so sorry to trouble you, but as you know, there's a blizzard coming in, and I was hoping if you could please let me in for an hour. Ma'am, actually, I could have sat in my car and turned on the heater, but I'm a little low on gas. I've called up my friends, and they would be coming soon to help me out. Until then, if you could please.
Okay, but just for an hour.
Yes, ma'am, just for an hour. Yes, ma'am. Jonathan Fernandez is my name. Sid is just my nickname.
Okay.
Ma'am, if it's not too much trouble, can I please get a blanket and a charger too? My phone has been switched off since afternoon.
Sure. Wait. If your phone has been off since the afternoon, how did you contact your friends?
What, ma'am?
Your friends. You said they were coming to get you. How did you contact them?
I'm very sorry for lying.
Please leave, Mr. Fernandez.
I'm very sorry. I just needed to come in for an hour. I promise I'll leave after that.
And what about the part about looking for Mr. Andrews?
Ma'am, that part is true. Even I was confused. Honestly, I swear, I came to meet Mr. Andrews. I was given this address by my boss.
Fine. But you're leaving at 9.
I look liquor? He's on a knife though!
Yo, your mom just...
The developing story from the city of College Park. That's where police have now confirmed of a serial killer on the run. 8 people have been brutally stabbed in just over a week. Elsie's Keithan George is there.
There was a time in small town America.
I see dead people. I'm gonna call my husband.
In your dreams? While you're awake?
Don't worry, it's gonna be fine. Well, I was just feeling bad for him. Yeah, he'll be gone in 20 minutes. Yes, I'll call you. Bye.
Time for lunch, Kira.
Ma'am, can I get more water?
Yeah, you can just take it from the fridge.
Feeling much better now? That's so great, honey. It's time for your food. Can I go outside and eat this? Oh, I don't know. You know how you get sick in the afternoons. Don't say that it tastes funny, you know.
Ma'am, where's Mr. Roberts?
Well, he's actually with my son at my brother-in-law's wedding. I was there too. I just came back because of work. What about your family?
I don't know what my parents, ma'am. I've lived in foster care since I was 3 years old.
Oh. So if you don't mind my asking, do you live all by yourself or?
I live alone now. My wife died of a car accident 2 years back.
Oh my god, I'm so sorry. I can't believe that
I'm
happened.
not.
Excuse me?
Well, ma'am, she was not a very good person. She meant everything to me. But then I found out she was cheating on me. And then she died of a car accident, ma'am.
You know, I think it's 9 already. I think you should leave.
Ma'am, I don't understand. How can you let a stranger into your house during this time?
What do you mean?
What I mean is, especially when there is a serial killer on the loose.
Please leave or I'm gonna call the cops.
I think you forgot. There's a blizzard coming in. It would take them at least half an hour to come in. Ma'am, I'm really sorry about this. I just saw this news and thought about playing this prank on you. I'm really very, very sorry. Here, take this knife if you're still scared of me. Believe me, I'm not.
I don't think you are in the state of answering the door.
Hi, is Mr. Andrews at home?
In the beginning.
Hi, is Mr. Andrews at home?
How can two people come to the wrong address? Why did the guy also ask for Mr. Andrews when the house belongs to Mr. and Mrs. Roberts? Ma'am? Ma'am? How did ma'am call her husband? My bag. Ma'am? Ma'am, I know you're behind this. Ma'am? Mr. Andrews?
So then where are you guys? I know, but I just can't believe your flight got canceled. Well, I was so excited to see you guys. And I already made the cake for our little monster. I'll call you back.
Hello, ma'am. My name is Ashok Varman. I happen to be Mr. Andrews' assistant. Is he home?
Of course he is. Please come in.
Thank you so much.
Hi guys, please stop paying to watch movies. Install this app and you can watch massive movies for free.
Hey, bomb back, girl.
Bro, can y'all come on? Because I really gotta be at work in the
Oh
morning.
my god, nigga, just call in like any regular person.
You really need to go to Alcoholics Anonymous because you this close.
Man, fuck you. What are you, my dad? Nah, you know, it was definitely time to leave. I can't believe you tried to fight KP, man. Fuck KP. And his girl was all up on me.
You know that's his wife, right?
And she was just trying to get back the bottle that you took out her hand.
Man, he can get these hands. Y'all was lucky y'all stopped that
Hey,
shit.
I ain't KP, dog. You looking at me? What you mean?
Hold on, DJ.
Boy, you ain't got no
what
hate.
happened in high school,
You
bro?
ain't got no hate.
Come on, bro. What's up? Come on, bro.
Come on.
I'm too drunk for all this shit,
Yeah,
man.
see,
Come on,
If I
man.
wasn't,
Let's get
I'll
into the
beat
car,
your
Jason.
ass.
Nah, you ain't gonna beat nobody.
I'm throwing all the way out right now.
You know what?
Unlock the goddamn door.
Alright, man, just wait.
Okay.
You always be so drunk and shit, man. Damn, man. Just wait.
We all loud as hell, boy. Got people sleeping. Whew. Yo, I can't find my key.
What?
Hey, y'all hold up. I'm finna go. I think I left my key
Where
outside.
you
I'll be
going?
right back. I think I left my key. Don't leave me.
Man, you know what? They just don't make butts like they
Look
used
at
to,
this.
man. Let me see. Damn, she bad.
She was at the crib too.
She's at the crib.
She got a sister?
Hey, handsome. Can I use your phone? I think I lost mine.
What's up, beautiful? It's a little cold out here. What, you need a ride? Baby, so what's up?
Man, I'm about to go check on DJ before somebody think he homeless. DJ! DJ! DJ? Jason! Elliot! Elliot! Elliot!
Was that your friend?
but I know you. To survive, you have to get the cab from the railroad bridge. Just follow the tracks in the Black Forest. Call this number if the job is done.
My job is done. I got rid of the head.
Don't trick me. Now I have to kill you. You don't know me, but I know you. To survive, you have to kill the following person. Mary Brown. Call this number if the job is done.
There's a monster! I need help.
Damn, bro, I ran out of storage. Hey, bro, can I borrow your phone for something real quick? Yeah, no problem, bro. I got you. Here you go.
Oh yeah, the interview went great. There's no chance I'm not going to get it. Can I help you? Gotta go. What the hell?
He did what we all must learn to do. You and you and you and you. Duck and cover.
Be sure and remember what Bert the Turtle just did, friends, because every one of us must remember to do the same thing. That's what this film is all about. Duck and cover. This is an official civil defense film produced in cooperation with the Federal Civil Defense Administration and in consultation with the Safety Commission of the National...
Pigface. Final scene. Wide shot. A rundown shack rots in the middle of nowhere. The door slowly opens. Hannah James emerges, bloody, bruised, and broken. Hannah makes her way toward the open field. Wait. Grindhouse style. Action. Pigface bursts through the door. He grabs an old, rusty pipe hanging on the shack and follows behind her. Hannah knows, but she's got no fight left in her. Hannah stops right in front of the camera. Cut to low angle. Hannah drops into frame. She falls to her knees, conceding to death. Camera pans up to Pigface. He raises the pipe over Hannah's head. Pigface rams the pipe into her skull. He pulls the rusty pipe from her head. A Zoe Hoffman film appears on screen. Roll credits.
Early payday, fee-free overdrafts, no monthly fee. Chime, the #1 most loved banking app.
Thanks for joining our munching menage here on Puppet Pleasures. Tune in next week for our gangbang finale.
I can't do this anymore.
It's now or never.
Good evening. We have a special guest. Say hi, Clara. That's not all. Please welcome Spike and his assistant, Sylvia.
We're here to suck on dry.
Oh shit! Jessa, we gotta fucking go. We gotta go. Fuck. Shit, dude. We need to get the fuck out of here. Taylor has lost her mind.
Thanks for joining our munching menage here on Puppet Pleasures. Tune in next week for our gang.
Someone here? Who are you? What do you want? Eat first. Get away from my son!